For frontline vehicles in Ukraine, war is hell. Without enough military equipment, many units here go into battle in civilian cars and trucks. So many are destroyed on first impact with shrapnel that fighters are constantly desperate for more. But instead of traditional military supply lines, they turn to volunteers like Max Titov.
We got a request from a friend of mine who volunteered for the army from the day one. He reached out to me and said, Max, we need a pickup truck.
Titov, a 37-year-old software engineer, purchases used vehicles from all over Europe. Then he and his team hack them into four-wheeled foreign fighters.
And the next stage is armoring and back to the front line. So this usually a steel plate, 8 to 15 millimeters, really depends on the vehicle, how much it can carry.
Through trial and error, his team figured out that 8mm steel plates are the sweet spot for protecting the soldiers and also the engine.
In case shell explodes, at least the engine stays intact and the crew can evacuate. Even the tires broken down and everything blows up, you still can drive and you still can escape.
Titov says machine gun fire can still pierce the armor, but if he welds in protection that's too heavy, the vehicle loses its speed and agility. The main advantage of light vehicles, like this truck, courtesy of Titov, with an anti-aircraft weapon in its bed, Ukraine's 57th Motorized Brigade hunts Russian fighter jets. In what's known as shoot and scoot, they fire and then must move fast to avoid being hit by Russian artillery.
The lifespan of the car and the front lines, about less than 3 months.
3 months?
3 months, yeah. Well, there is an exceptions. Some units were really good at breaking stuff.
Like car number 6, one of 13 vehicles he deployed to the 57th. A shell exploded near it, punching hundreds of holes in the chassis and killing the engine, but the soldiers inside survived.
Those guys are really going around a lot, hunting for Russian airplanes, helicopters, and cruise missiles.
Do you develop a relationship with these frontline units that you're delivering these cars to?
Yes, we do. Well, lots of our friends there. You cannot avoid it.
It may seem rather ad hoc that some guys with a garage are procuring and preparing soldiers' vehicles. But that's how, for the Ukrainian side, this war works. It sounds like you almost adopt a unit.
One of my friends, he is referring to me like the private volunteer of his.
Have any of these friends of yours died in battle?
Yeah, recently buried one of my friends, one of my ex-workers actually.
A fellow software engineer, Yoa Osadchuk, a soldier with the 57th, who the Russians killed in October.
He was a bright guy. He knew 3 languages, he was working in IT.
When Russia invaded Ukraine, Titov had no military experience, so he joined the ranks of what's known as a second army in Ukraine, volunteers equipping soldiers on the front line.
I feel this need inside of me to participate. I can't just stay and watch. This is just not me.
What did you know about vehicles and fixing vehicles?
Not really much. I learned about it on the way.
So you weren't a mechanic?
I weren't a mechanic, yeah. All good so far.
His only experience with cars, leading a team that does engineering for a California startup that does mileage tracking. That's still his day job. A friend who owns this repair shop volunteers its use and also pays for the labor of his mechanics. The cars cost around $6,000 each.
Straight to the front lines.
The money Titov uses to purchase them, 19 vehicles thus far, mostly comes from online fundraising. Most of the donors, members of Ukraine's tech community, supporting peers who traded keyboards for Kalashnikovs.
We hope that car will work.
Yeah, the previous one was rotten.
For Titov, return on investment is measured in the lives saved by his vehicle's protection.
We saved a lot of lives already by putting the armor, but we're losing really good people in this war. Like all those bright minds who could have served this planet, now it's not going to happen.
Jason Bellini, Newsy, Lviv, Ukraine.